Oh, God, we're almost 110 episodes in, and we still don't know what we're doing.
Nor do we have any endorsements.
Yeah.
I'll say now on air, NPR, PBS, look us up. I think we're pretty,
Yeah.
the right amount of interesting with the right amount of dull, with the right amount of funny. I think we're PC enough.
Yeah.
You can put us on there.
Yeah, we
For
could.
one episode at least.
We totally could. I mean, I've listened to...
It's on the Moth Hour at least. On NPR. I like the Moth Hour.
Well, NPR interviewed Robert Paul Anderson's wife, just a few months, 6 months before she passed away.
Yeah, I love NPR.
And
listen to them whenever we can on Saturdays. I love the Wait, Don't Tell Me and the Moth Hour, and they do a fun science program.
I need to find some new things to listen to because I've pretty much gotten rid of news. I can't take it anymore.
That's why I kind of like NPR on the weekends anyway. I mean, they'll do their little news spiel, and that's kind of what it is, but they're not very political. But like I said, they do I love Wait, Don't Tell Me, it's funny. And then they'll do the Moth Hour, which usually has some cool stuff.
Okay.
They have a bunch of people that just tell stories like we do.
Okay.
Tell their stories. I think we could actually be on the Moth Hour.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look into that and then be like, put us on.
We can actually apply.
Really?
We can.
Really?
They always say at the end of the film, like, call this, do this, and we apply. So maybe we could get on the Moth Hour.
Oh, that would be
I don't know if we could do it
awesome.
together, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we both have stories.
We do.
We should be able to. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's our introduction to storytelling on the plains. Come back next week.
NPR, help us.
I, in all honesty, I just want to make back what I have invested and then make what I output every month. And so I'm not even counting my labor in the research and the writing.
Yeah,
I pay $25 a month to host the episodes so they can go out places, and we're about a third of the way there. Which, by the way, I have to say thank you. I keep forgetting. It's been like 3 weeks now. We have a new patron on Patreon.
a new one? Because you did mention.
Did I mention it like 3 weeks ago?
You did.
Okay.
Unless you have a new
No,
one.
no, I don't have a new one.
Okay.
I just worry that
we'll pretend that you are the new one. If
Yeah.
that new one is listening.
And the thing is, what we've done. I think this is episode 109. And
It's really crazy to think about.
yeah, we've done 100 episodes, man, and
We're hated.
I looked at YouTube the other day and I was like, oh, 1 view, 1 view.
It's hot, yeah.
And I get emails all the time from people about marketing stuff, and I'm like, dude, even if we were gonna do that, I don't have the money to pay a marketer. Stop.
I think we're PBS worthy at least, because I mean we have enough of it's interesting, but I understand we're kind of droll. We talk about history and then we go off on tangents about our personal lives. I think that's kind of droll, but at the same time,
it's different.
I've listened to PBS. You guys, you're watching me. It's droll too.
Yeah. So
I think we fit right in.
Yep. And I did have one of our viewers that I know personally was telling me yesterday that she thought our episode on Hudson Ming was hilarious because we were acting like moms. Make sure you have sunscreen and you have plenty of water and snacks for your hikes. And I'm like, it's because we've been there.
We're doing half the time. So we're just going as we go.
And you just think of it as you go, because you think, oh my God, I went and I didn't have enough water. Make sure you take enough water. That's just how my stupid brain works. But anyway, welcome back to Storytelling on the Plains. Today we're heading up to Alliance, Nebraska to learn about an early steward of the environment, Mr. Hayes Chandler. And this is going to be a show, don't tell kind of episode where I'm just showing you his life. I'm not going to say, this is how he was environmental. Here's what he did, and you'll get that he was environmental.
Sure.
It's just the way I wrote it this time. I I don't know. I don't have any plan when I go and write stuff. I'm just like, oh, this guy's interesting, so let's write about him.
I'm lucky enough to read.
And I send Connor the what I write every week, and I don't think he reads it before he comes.
To be fair, I don't. I try to. Half the time, to be fair, it doesn't pop up on my phone. My phone is just worthless. It doesn't. There's always
you need to
formatting issues. And
you need to get a new phone.
But even if I did, there'd still be a 50-50 chance that you can.
That's true, and we've tried.
I think it's more interesting that I don't exactly.
It probably is.
I want to be a little surprised. I'm
think
hoping that since you're the researcher, I'd like to be the child. Like, oh, yay, you're telling me something I don't know. Yay.
It works.
I hope so. Again, PBS, NPR.
And someone give us lots of money. Anyway, so
actually give us money.
No.
Do you know how many drives they want?
Like,
they don't have no money to spare.
No.
I would appreciate maybe like one of those pins or the voicemail from what's his name. That's all you're gonna get from them.
Or an email that just says
money.
good job.
Good job, and then you're going to get probably a bill.
Yeah. Well, until I die, I'm probably going to keep doing this, or until this machine dies, and then I'll have to buy a new one and learn how to use a new one. And I still don't fully know how to use this one. There's so many buttons and knobs. Oh, okay. Those things you can play with. I'm like, don't turn those knobs because
but these don't work. They light up. That's like the coolest thing they do.
Yes, and then you can make sounds with them, and it makes me mad because I was listening to Force Valkai on the line, and he was like, I need some new things in my doohickey thing here. And like 2 seconds later, he's got a toilet flush, and he's like, here's what I think of your comment. And he hits it, and it's a toilet flushing.
I said, we got the buttons, guys. This is how lost we are.
We got 8 buttons, and we don't understand what they're for. I mean,
we were born before the 90s. Leave us alone.
Yeah. I was born before the 80s, so that's even
Leave us alone.
I just remember we sat and went through this whole thing. I went through trying to figure out how everything worked. And what are you looking at? Are you looking at the red bit there? I'm looking at that too. Oh my God, dude! I think you're recording from one of these buttons.
I'm recording a recording? Oh, well, now it's
You
done.
did. The red light just went off. Okay.
I double recorded.
Okay, so well, one day we're just going to have to sit and figure this out.
I don't touch these buttons.
So I lost my train of thought. Doesn't matter. We need to do the episode because we're 8 minutes in.
Hayes Ezekiel Chandler.
Yeah. And I found out about him. I was doing some research on something else, and I found out about him from the Alliance Times-Herald newspaper. They had two little special columns on him, and that's where I got the vast majority of my information because there's nothing out there about him. I couldn't find anything else. So today we're going to learn about Hayes Ezekiel Chandler, and his middle name is spelled Ezekiel, and Ezekiel is usually all E's. There's no A.
Yeah, but
so it's still Ezekiel. Yeah. Because when you pronounce it, Ezekiel,
it's pretty obvious once you see it.
Yeah.
Ezekiel, yeah.
So Hayes was born on September 25th, 1879 in Clay, Mississippi to former slaves Smith Chandler and Mary Walker. He grew up near the plantations where his parents were held as slaves. And I want to note right off the bat that his birth year was listed as 1882 in the article in the Alliance Times-Herald. However, his headstone says 1879, so that's what I'm going with. Again, 1879, 1882 is just a few years difference, and we're coming up on 150 years ago. Dates get mixed up. It happens. So Hayes is grown up And as a little boy of 4 years old, he was known around his hometown in Mississippi as a biscuit carrier, which was the term used for slaves who helped women in the kitchen, according to the article about Hayes in the Alliance Times-Herald newspaper in 2022. This was 20 years after slavery ended, but we all know how things still worked. It's not slavery, but we're still treating blacks as slaves a lot. And I'm not going to speculate whether this was used as a term of endearment because we just don't know, but it was not used in that manner in the past. And and by in the past, I mean they would have little kids, I assume, do this job.
And just to be sure that I understand this correctly, this is in Mississippi, not in Nebraska.
Right,
in Nebraska, as far as I know, I'm not saying slavery didn't happen here. It did. There are, I think, some accounts, especially on the east side, that it did. But in general,
it didn't.
It wasn't so. I
it wasn't really so prolific out here. Yeah,
it's like wasn't a thing, but it wasn't as much of a thing.
Right. Right. And so he's still in Mississippi. He's 4 years old. And I also want to make a side note here, and Connor, keep me from going off too much on my soapbox here. But don't rely on AI to do your research. You really shouldn't rely on it. I spent 30 minutes searching for results on what a biscuit carrier is to get some more details and maybe share it with you.
Who knows what you got from AI?
No, it wasn't that.
What's a biscuit carrier?
No, and I didn't literally go purposely to do that. I used DuckDuckGo as my search engine, and I forgot to click no AI when I did the search. So the little search box came up, and I wanted to make sure because at the time his granddaughter had relayed this information, and she passed away a couple of years ago. So I've got no way to confirm or what did you mean by that, and the article didn't explain it other than what she had said it was, which to me sounds like you give a little kid a tray of biscuits and they carry them into the room.
Sure, and that's what I would think AI would portray is like a little tray full of biscuits.
I didn't look for pictures. I was just looking for some confirmation that this term was used.
Yeah.
And my first searches were all about how a biscuit carrier was forced to carry a variety of foodstuffs from one place to another, often long distances. And by long distances, I mean like tens to hundreds of miles. You're not giving a 4-year-old that job.
No.
Even if they were a slave, you're not giving a 4-year-old that job.
Correct.
So not a single source linked from the AI stuff included the word biscuit, yet alone biscuit carrier. So I read the AI summary, and then I clicked on the links that it told me it got them from, and I went and looked, and I'm like, where?
And you go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, and they're pulling this information whole cloth from the ether.
And when I was in college, when I was doing classes, even in our local college here at WNCC, when I was taking biology, use the Encyclopedia Britannica is one of the best sources that they use. They use several others, but they really do have an excellent search engine that they use. So if you want to know something, they're going to give you references, not so much bleeps about or summaries. Well, this is what it is. They'll give you a little bit to help you on your way, but they're not going to give you anything close to the crap that AI is going to give you, like this over summarize, because the AI does that. They over summarize things where you start reading it. It's like, no.
Yep.
So I encourage people, Encyclopedia Britannica is one of the best sources that I used in college. It's what colleges still accept. They still to this day don't accept Wikipedia, by the way, at least not our community college, which I can only
some do, some don't.
I can imagine if our community colleges, you're SOL as far as the universities. So you need to make sure you know how to reference things. And they do all classes now, how you go through the web and how you can properly reference things. So I encourage you guys to look it up.
And for me, typically what I do is I came across Hayes Chandler, read the 2 articles. I'm like, dude, I want to know more. Usually I do a Google search, Find a Grave website comes up almost always. Sometimes I really got to search for somebody before I get a connection, because that's what happens with really old stuff.
It's not
and
always
then
bad.
and then I'll find another thing and another thing, and then I'll be like, oh wait, I wonder if the library has a book on that, and the library has a book on that, and I can run over and get a book. But
and that's the thing, references. Make sure the references are sound, good authors, true authors.
Yeah. And so my account is, I guess the news article is a second person account, but they interviewed his granddaughter. I guess it depends. Would she be a primary resource or not? Because she heard it from him. So, that's as close to the sources I can get, and there really wasn't anything else that I could find. But I wanted to make sure that my immediate thought of what a biscuit carrier was true, and I come up across all this
in reference to this one thing that involves the slave's job.
Yeah.
I mean, like you just said, a biscuit carrier is probably a regimental soldier that carries bread across military lines, is probably also called a biscuit carrier.
Yeah. Who knows? I couldn't find.
It's like
I could not find anything tangible, and the AI references are horrible, and most of them didn't even have the word biscuit or carrier. So I'm like, where did you get this information from? Yep. So my guess is that's what a biscuit carrier was. He's just carrying it from the kitchen to the table. So I can see where they would make a 4-year-old slave do that, but they're not making a 4-year-old slave, non-slave, walk tens to hundreds of miles delivering biscuits or any other kind of food stuff. The kid ain't even going to be able to push a wheelbarrow. So I switched up my search terms, and then the AI kept telling me that a biscuit carrier is the military aide who carries the nuclear football in American politics.
There you go. It's one of those things, like it's a biscuit carrier. That's such a weird, it's a slang that could be good put to anything.
And so I clicked on the sources again. There's no biscuit carrier there. It's just explaining who the military aide is. So I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not looking anymore.
Because AI references any source, any information, any book so when it comes to pop culture terminology or slangs, who knows?
Yeah.
There's slangs can mean many, many, many things.
Yeah. So I'm going to take his granddaughter's word that a biscuit carrier was someone who helped women in the kitchen. And it makes sense that they would probably be like, here, take these biscuits out to the dining room. It makes sense.
I hope the poor kid's only job wasn't just that. I hope he grew up to be more than that.
He did. And we're getting to what he grew up to, but we're still stuck on him at 4 years old. So
carrying those biscuits. Let's move on.
So I'm guessing it was biscuits and other small things from the kitchen to the dining room. I honestly don't know.
Biscuits and gravy.
But I did want to just put that out there, that you put crap into AI and it ain't telling you the truth most of the time. And I'm going to kind of cuss here, but I hate the enshittification of the internet. It really drives me mad, because 10 years ago I could have probably found something on this and other things, and it's just everything keeps getting crappier. But not Hayes.
I just like that. I was reading that word, enshittification. I thought that was misspelled.
Nope. No.
Enshittification.
Cory Doctorow actually had a book out last year, I think it was, about the enshittification of the internet, and he coined the term enshittification. So now I've swore several times.
Clever. I really thought that was a misspell.
No.
I thought it was like interfication or something. Like, no, it's enshittification. Okay, that's exactly what you said.
That's it. Yep. And I would highly recommend Cory Doctorow. That's the name of his book that he came out with. It was either last year or a year before. And he coined the term that's essentially what's happening to the internet.
Enough. I really thought that was a misspell. It's
okay.
Good on you. You got me there.
So we don't know much else about Hayes's early life and growing up in Mississippi. At some point in time, he moved to Texas and then to Oklahoma. So in the meantime, Florence Motley, who will later be his wife, was born on April 9th, 1886 in Petersburg, Illinois. She makes her way to Oklahoma at some point too. I couldn't find any information about her. Again, I don't have the money to pay for all of these ancestry websites to try and find more information. It's just what's available is what I can afford. What's free is what I can afford. So she makes her way to Oklahoma, and Florence meets Hayes at some point in time, and they get married on January 5th, 1913 in Chakota, Oklahoma. And I spelled out the pronunciation of Chakota because I kept wanting to say Chakotay because I watched Star Trek Voyager. And I'm like, that's not right. So I had to put it in there that I get the pronunciation of the town correctly.
I never knew what he was from. Was he supposed to be from New Zealand?
No, Chakotay was an American Indian. I just don't remember which tribe he was from.
Because he almost had like New Zealand face paint on. Like the tattoo that he had. I think that was more like New Zealand.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember enough about it because I got...
Yeah. We're getting into Star Trek lore, guys. Please forgive us. Yeah. Like, this is getting
But,
really
like, I
nerdy.
hated Neelix, so I stopped watching.
Really nerdy. But, yeah, no, I never got that, guys.
I think they left it very, very general. That he was an Indian from Earth, and that's what they left it at.
Again, to be a Star Trek nerdy, for all those who give a hey about Star Trek, there was that one episode in Next Gen about Native American nation in another planet that was going to get
Wesley.
With good old Will Wheaton, putting his foot down and being like, I'm not putting up with this bullshit, and he leaves. I think that's when he leaves Star Trek for good.
Yeah.
Interesting episode. Very interesting, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't, but I wanted to say Chakotay's name, but it's Chakota is the name of the town in Oklahoma.
For those of you who care.
So Hayes and Florence moved from Oklahoma to Nebraska in 1915. They settled in the Hemingford area because her uncle, Robert Ball Anderson, lived there. And if you haven't listened to our episode on Robert Ball Anderson yet, please do so. He was a highly successful farmer and rancher in the early 20th century, and his episode is number 87, so it'll be easy for you to find. That's it.
I need to go back here. Just a second. I need to go back to 87.
So that's why I number the episodes, so that if I ever have to reference them, you don't have to go searching for the Robert Ball Anderson episode. It's literally number 87, and I put the number first and then the title of the episode. So
we could really just put this all in the book and just be like storytelling on planes. You could sell that. There you go.
We could make this into a book.
It's 105 episodes.
Yeah.
106, there you go.
Yeah, we totally could make a book out of this.
I don't know what you're waiting for. You have everything right here. Because you just slap it together. But there you go.
Because I don't have enough on my plate right now. Oh my God, dude. Oh God.
I'm just saying. We're talking about ways of making money.
Yeah, I have thought about it of making like a self-published book and put it out. But there's typos in here, and like when
we could fix that, and then if you want nuance, you have to listen to us. That'd be the catch. Like this doesn't give what we're saying.
Yeah,
this is all in
this
between.
Is just all the
you
words.
You only get the script. If you want the show, you have to listen to it.
Yeah, you only get the 1,500 to 2,000 words.
Yeah, then we rank up the prices. Let's go.
Oh, and believe me, Connor, I have thought of it. I just
don't tell our audience that.
I know I have so much on my plate, and I've been talking a lot lately about Caden Live, and I'm like, I need to learn how to use it so I can do video. Because if I can learn how to do it, I can make video out of these, and you guys will have something to look at while I'm doing this.
Have to wear a mask. I want nobody seeing this mug.
Well, the thing is, we could totally set the camera up right there next to you, and just have me be on camera.
I want to be a cute avatar, like a squirrel.
Figure out how to do that. Because like I watched
as if back at you, as if I don't have nothing on my plate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
you potatoes are mashed too high. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
honestly, if I knew how to make us into little avatars, there's a dude I listen to on YouTube called Paulogia, and you see him
all avatar.
All avatar. That's all he does. I don't know how to do that. If I knew how to do that and make my mouth move as we were talking, we could totally do that for every episode.
It's probably not that hard.
It probably isn't. I just don't. I don't even know a starting point of what skill I need to do that. If I did, then we would probably have a template and off we go.
I'm sure.
Because I would love to do something like he does for his stuff, and he has video playing in his thing, and I'm like, I don't know how you do that.
We have nerds. We have the technology.
Yeah, there are nerds out there that could do it in like 20 seconds, but make
contact with
I have a nickel on my desk upstairs. So
it has to be one that at least work for that nickel.
Yeah. So back to Hayes and Florence here. They farmed in the Hemingford area until 1928 when they moved to Alliance. Hayes's obituary says 1935, so who knows? Again, it's just a few years difference. At some point in time, they moved into Alliance. And I could also see where the discrepancy might be. They moved there in 1928, but not fully. And it wasn't permanently just Alliance until 35. I don't know. I couldn't find any information. But Hayes then worked wheat and soil in Alliance. So I had to look that up. And I feel very stupid.
You had to look up wheat?
I had to look. Well, they're using it as a euphemism for like a garbage collector.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't get it because I'm like, all right.
Soil.
Yeah.
Like not like the soil of the land, like dirt, like the soil of garbage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I got that right because he did become a garbage man, so I think I got that part right. But the two articles in the Alliance Times Herald were really good. It was this that threw me, and a good reporter would have asked, "What the hell do you mean by that?" so that it's clear in the article. And it wasn't. I had to do a lot of searching, and I'm still not 100% sure if that's a correct euphemism or not.
Well, it could be like a composter too. I would think like wheat that is already basically, once it's a harvest and everything left in the field is taken with the soil also. And that is a composter, which is kind of a trash job. I can see that also maybe being a case. I don't know.
And I know there's a reason why they wrote he worked wheat and soil. See, I want to say worked with, and the with was not there in the article.
Another idea is it could be for silage. For cows.
Could have been.
Because a silage, that kind of comes to mind too. It's like, well, like wheat soil, alfalfa soil, like you're getting grass and soil for the cows, so that could be a silage a collector, as what would we call it now. And
it took me a while to get to that conclusion, and I could still be off. Again, I'm a city girl. I'm not a ag person, and I'm still learning as we go. I know you know way more ag than me, but
and for those who don't know what silage is, it's just what they feed the cows.
Yeah.
It's just what's left.
Yeah.
The leftovers.
So Hayes had a customer list and worked hard expanding the list until he had several hundred customers. Hayes was well known for driving a 2-horse team attached to his wagon, and everyone else had switched to motorized vehicles, but Hayes kept his ways, which fared him well. And I want to read a bit from the Alliance Times Herald article, Hayes's Legacy by John E. Ware, which includes quotes from his granddaughter Florence Nickens. And I did, when I was getting confused on this, I looked her up, and she passed away in 2024. So I can't ask her what she meant by that article, because it's not there anymore. Or she's not there anymore. Like today's garbage trucks, people usually heard Hayes before catching sight of him coming down a street or an alley. Nickens remembers riding with him while picking up trash from businesses downtown, noting he had steel tires and you could hear him a block away. I can hear.
Interesting, Because, I mean, we know that they had cobblestone streets.
Yep, up in Alliance.
They still do to this day have a section of the city that's cobblestone streets. So imagine steel tires on cobblestone streets. Like, God, that would have been a racket.
Like
I bet the city was not happy with them.
Not.
So, like, forget the horses tearing up the streets. Dude, what are you doing?
So someone asked him why he didn't get rid of the horses and get a car or pickup, Nickens said. Hayes replied that he had no windshield to replace, no tires to get flat, and no gas to buy.
Fair enough. Still got to feed those horses.
Yeah. He was known to let the local children hop on the back of his wagon and ride along for a block or two. Despite his stature, 6'3" with a size 15 wedding band, and almost always being on his garbage route or en route to a landscaping job, children never received a reprimand or a cross word for hitching a ride. He was the quiet big man, Nickens said, a very gentle, loving man. He never lost his temper or showed his anger. He didn't mind it, and I can just imagine him looking back and smiling at the kids.
I wouldn't mind either. I mean, it'd be different if it was maybe a car or a truck. It gets dangerous.
Yeah.
But an old horse and buggy, and obviously because of the steel wheels, he can't go very fast on cobblestone streets. I mean, he'd be kicking up sparks.
Yeah.
So he's probably just kind of trotting along.
Yes. And if he goes too fast, all that crap's going to fall out of the wagon.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to go very fast wherever you're going with steel wheels on a horse and buggy.
Yeah. So I can imagine him looking back and smiling at the kids who were there, and the kids were probably happy for the quick lift to wherever they were going. You didn't have to walk a few blocks, whatever. It was a fun ride.
I'm sure back in that day, Alliance wasn't big enough probably to have a bus.
No.
Or have a means of public transportation where it's just like, you walked.
Yep.
Up and down both ways in the snow, as my grandpa would say.
Yes. So Hayes's obituary stated Mr. Chandler never was known to lose patience with the children or even with cantankerous grown-ups. So
I love the name cantankerous.
It's an awesome word. We should use that more often.
We need to bring that back.
Yeah.
Stop being so cantankerous.
So Florence Nickens, Hayes' granddaughter, recalled, in the early 50s, kids started having birthday parties where they got to ride the wagon all afternoon and have a party on the wagon. So up into the 1950s, he's still doing his wagon.
Well, that's smart.
But that's also smart for your birthday party.
I think we call that a side hustle.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Like do what you got to do.
Hayes was well-liked and respected in town. After his wagon burned in an accidental fire, a local rancher built him a new one. In the article, it went in a little bit more detail that, like, this dude just knew Hayes and thought he was a decent dude. And was like, dude, that sucks, it burned. Here, let's get you a new one.
But that does really go to even to what I see to this day, and since I was a child growing up here, you see that all the time. Mm-hmm. You just see these random acts of kindness from farmers especially that just do these really remarkable things for other farmers who are just down on their luck. Mm-hmm. And it really is kind of neat to see, and something you take for granted if you're a city kid like me, because I had the pleasure and the privilege to be out there, mm-hmm. but not a lot of other kids got that, so they get that city attitude. It's like, no one helps anybody. Well, maybe in Scottsbluff itself that could be somewhat true, even though not entirely if you take a look about. But the farmers, absolutely. Mm-hmm. There's a guy with a broken down tractor. There's two other farmers from the local farms next to you that are probably going to help you. Mm-hmm. And it benefits you. Yeah. And that's just how they are.
And I mean, even across states, when we had the fires earlier this year, there were farmers from Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma.
It benefits everybody. Yeah. Everybody's in trouble when one person is in trouble when it comes to the farmlands.
Yep. Because, I mean, these guys were growing hay, and they're like, well, those guys up in Nebraska, they got cows, and they got nothing to feed them now because the fields. So they packed up their hay and brought it up here. They gave what they could spare, and it's... worked as best as it can, you know.
Stinginess and petty greed isn't really appreciated around here in the farm community anyway.
Yeah. The only difference to his new wagon was the tires. The new wagon had rubber instead of steel wheels, making Hayes' trips through town a lot quieter.
Probably a little bit easier on his back, too.
I would think so. Yeah. Oof.
That was good on the poor guy's back.
But Hayes didn't just stop with picking up garbage. He used his horses with a plow and made a nice little career out of clearing land and installing gardens for people. He also created lawns for local residents, and in all, he created hundreds of green spaces for people in Alliance. And this is how this article all got started. The gentleman, Johnny Ware, who wrote the article, was in the office of Keep Alliance Beautiful, and we have similar organization, Keep Scottsbluff Gearing Beautiful, and it's an environmental organization to keep your town beautiful. And he's in the office talking to the lady who is the director and sees a picture on the wall, and it was a picture of Hayes Chandler. Who's that dude? And so I believe it was her father, took that picture of Hayes, and it won some local awards for photography. And, well, why do you have him hanging up here? Well, because he just took it upon himself to collect the garbage, to make people's gardens look good, to make the landscaping look good. So he kind of was that early pioneer of environmentalism for his town. And it just happened that her relative took the picture, so she kept the picture in the office for inspiration. But if you go read the article, it's described a little better than that. I mean, he actually describes the whole picture too. So Hayes and Florence lived in the former Hill Addition of South Alliance, which is now part of the BNSF Railway property, where they raised 4 children. And if you're coming from the south on 385 into Alliance, you look on the right, you see the BNSF Railway property. Somewhere in there is where their house was.
Okay.
It's just railway property now.
Taken away by the rails.
Yeah. In order, their children were Hayes Jerome, Ogarita, Myrtle, and Maud. Myrtle and Maud were twins and were among the first sets of twins born in Nebraska. And I got to take that by his granddaughter's word, because, again, I can't find any info on them.
How would you know? How would they know?
Yeah.
One of those kind of things, like how do you possibly know that there's what kind of record is keeping and what kind of record are you getting access to?
Yeah, I don't know. Myrtle passed away in 1957 at age 40. She had already been a widow when she died, so she was a widow and had kids. Hayes and Florence became the guardians of Myrtle's children and helped to finish raising them. See, there's a typo. I wrote raising time instead of raising them. And I proofread before I do this. The youngest child was only 6 days old. So he pretty much, if I remember correctly, I think the oldest was like 12 or 14. But Hayes and Florence basically raised their grandkids because Dad was already dead and Mom just died, which sucks. But from the article that I read, it seemed like it wasn't even a question. Kids need to be raised. They're our grandkids. Come live with us. It wasn't even a question. And I hate that I have to clarify that, but I just know so many people in this day and age that are like, I raised my kids. I ain't raising no more kids, but their parents just died. Oh well, I think it's just the jobs I've had in life.
Yeah, I've been lucky not to experience that. Well, again, I've worked in a shelter with you, so I have experienced it.
Yeah.
I've experienced a lot more of those grandparents that take up the mantle because they must.
My own mother did that with my nephew, and my nephew is like my little brother, even though I'm 18 years older than him. He's very much a little brother to me.
And my grandmother, both of them, my grandmother, my dad's side passed away, but even my grandmother that's still alive is a remarkable job for all of us grandchildren. I mean, she's been there for us. She's taken care of all of us in times where our parents weren't around. Either my mom and dad, they were working, or my aunt or my uncles, they were working too. And my grandma was always there, no matter what. Even when she herself was working, she was always there. So yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I know it still happens today. I think it's just, like I said, the jobs I've had. I've worked in elementary schools. I've worked in middle schools. I've worked in the shelter. I just happen to be in those jobs where family abandons them. My mom worked in a psychiatric facility for 25 years, and then she worked on the behavioral health unit of our local hospital back in New York. So I've just been around that a lot, hearing that a lot of they don't. And so I always feel like I need to clarify and give these guys kudos for doing what should be the normal, natural response. So anyway, Hayes and Florence took in their grandkids.
And just to extend that goes for your neighbors too. I just recently had an encounter with one of my neighbors who was, a lot of my neighbors are in their 80s now, and they're getting more feeble. And I can't be the only one in the neighborhood that has that. So make sure you go out and take care of your neighbors, because they are the grandmothers and grandfathers that took care of grandchildren and did a lot. So if you see them, my across the street neighbor was struggling with his garbage because he could hardly walk. So, I helped him take his garbage back. That's the least I can do, and I could do a lot more, and I encourage everybody to do more.
Yeah, because we don't.
We don't. We need to take care of. We need to take care of our children, but we also need to take care of our grandparents.
Yep. They need just as much help as the little ones. So Hayes and Florence continue on with their lives. Around age 64, Hayes finally gave up his wagon and purchased a pickup truck. So by all accounts, their marriage was a happy one. And I'm going to quote from the article again. Growing up with her granddad and grandma Florence, Nickens described their character as cooperation as a couple. I have a tendency to believe the people who work together, strive together, taught you the Lord was there and he was good. Grandma read the Bible morning and night, showed us you can always get something new from it. They taught us a lot about respect and that money wasn't everything. And they managed to build a great life, and a lot of people knew them and loved them in town. Hayes taught his children and grandchildren about respect, and they also saw the disrespect and the confusing outstretched hands to Hayes that weren't extended to other blacks as well as Native Americans and minorities. I'm surprised, for being a farmer and doing things other people wouldn't do, he was so respected, Nickens said. As an example, she mentioned the Elks Club, then just north of the post office in Alliance, which wouldn't allow black members. But when he picked up their garbage, they'd have him come in and have a few drinks at the bar. And I have to say, as someone born I was born in 1970, and I saw this kind of crap.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. But this is the kind of stuff I was actually hoping that we'd get into a bit, because, he couldn't have gotten off scot-free in the 50s, even in our neck of the woods. Going back to what I said before, we didn't have the same kind of relationship with, like, the slave trade and everything as the South. As far as I know, there was no major Civil War battles in the state of Nebraska. That being said, was there racism? Absolutely. Was there, like, blatant, like, you can't go in here because you're black? Absolutely. Like, that should not be ignored, that there was so much racism, again, not just to blacks, but to Native Americans, and as well as Hispanics. But it really should be, this seems, for a little bit there, we were making it a bit too nice.
Yeah.
We're making his life a little too hunky-dory here. Like, we have to remember that his life wasn't hunky-dory. Yeah. This was still the white America, so.
And if you think about the career that he had,
even his career kind of shows it. Yeah.
And granted, I only have to go off of these two articles, and his granddaughter was remembering about what a great guy her grandpa was.
She's not going to be the person that makes it too much of a thing. But I see this a lot in those kind of things where they they didn't make it a thing because he didn't probably make it a thing because he didn't want. What I hear a lot, at least from other accounts, is that you don't want your children to think necessarily that way. Mm-hmm. Be it that way it is. They don't want to spread the hate, even though the hate was put on you. So mm-hmm. I think that kind of shows.
Yes. Yeah. And I hate that it was part of our society. It still is in many parts of this country. I lived in, so we're talking, 30s, 40s, 50s, that he's experiencing this, probably into the 60s as well, because we're going to get to his death, so it was into the 60s. I lived in North Carolina for a year, in Southern Pines, North Carolina, which is right in between Pinehurst, which is the super duper wealthy area with all the golf courses, and the US PGA Championship has been held there many times. And then literally a 5-minute drive and you're onto Fort Bragg. I don't know what the heck they call it today. I don't care. They keep changing the name, whatever. But it's a big military fort there, and you used to be able to drive in through the back end. And then after 9/11, it got, or no, it was still open after 9/11, and then we drove on it one time. They're doing like testing of ordinances and stuff. We weren't supposed to go in that way, and enough of us from Southern Pines were doing that to take a cheat easy way to get into Fayetteville, that they shut it off and you had to completely go around. But anyway, I saw a lot of this in the year that I lived there, and I lived there during the 2006-2007 school year. I think if I had to live there permanently, I probably would have ended up in jail for beating somebody. And we could have those discussions another time, but this was 2006, and I'm witnessing this.
The year I graduated high school.
Yeah. Thanks.
Not to old you, but also to date me. I'm just saying, like, I was a teenager. This wasn't even in my childhood. This was within my lifetime was what I'm saying.
And I really wish that, we didn't have systemic racism, but from what I could read from the things that his granddaughter said, I don't think the grandkids grew up with that much. I don't know if hate's the right word, but because I'm sure they experienced the racism, but it may not have been as bad as what he experienced.
It really is trying to make the right line us as storytellers too. We just don't want to whitewash our history.
Yeah.
That's what we try to do. We want to make sure that people understand that we're not trying to put this towards a point of view, because Irene and I, in case you couldn't tell, are both very, very white. Yeah. I mean, we're two bumpkins. I mean, we haven't been through this, and we've been through our own experiences, but that's not racist as the racism that has gone on in this country. We haven't experienced. I haven't experienced it in my life, ever. And I don't know of many other white people who have. So they can put on their own twist on their own stories, but it's just not the same. And it's just so, and this is also in the 60s and 50s during a time where I didn't exist, but from learning from the 50s and 60s, there was a lot. Yeah. There was a lot that was going on. You learned Martin Luther King. We're talking about the civil rights era. We're talking about all the major horrible atrocities that happened in Chicago and in Ohio and all those kind of things. So,
it happened everywhere. My grandma's sister married a gentleman. They lived in Dayton, Ohio, and the words that came out of her mouth, I would just sit there and I would look at my grandma. My grandma would give me the, please don't say anything right now, and then I would have conversations with her. Why is Aunt Dot so racist? Why doesn't she like these people? And I didn't understand it. And this was in the late 70s, I was 8-9 years old, and I didn't understand it. And because I'm like, you're not like that, Graham. And she was like, yeah, but you got to remember Dot's my sister. I'm like, yeah, but you're not like this. And she goes, no, but Aunt Dot was like 10 or 11 years older. So she literally kind of was in a different generation than my grandma.
It's the same with my grandparents and my parents. They grew up in their own generations with their own different things. And to this day, even me and my mom have these conversations all the time of what was then considered and what is now considered. And she's a bit behind the times. This is like, that's what it was now, but this is what it is now. And it was the same with, at that time when I was growing up, learning racism versus my grandparents versus my parents. It's like, yeah, you heard what they said, don't say that. Don't say that. And it's kind of that kind of thing. If I had children, it's like, yeah, you see, you know what, my mom, don't say that.
Don't say that.
Don't say
that. And sometimes it's innocuous and they don't really realize that they're being racist.
It all is. It all is. Because every time I was growing up, no one corrected each other. That wasn't something you did amongst our families. It's like no one's like, hey, don't say that. It's like, that never happened. It's now that because I don't have children and neither does my sisters, I do have that conversation with my mom, and I'm glad to have them because it's just like, you can't say that. It's like, I don't have children anymore to tell that to, so now I have to tell it to you. You can't say it. Even if I know what you're saying, you can't say it that way.
Right.
It's like, I get it, but you need to correct your English.
Yep. You know? It's the thing, and I know I've told this story at least to you more than once, but growing up in New York, you go to the flea market, you Jewed somebody down.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was
until my 20s.
Yeah. So I go to college in 1988 and someone else was literally referencing the same thing. And some folks jumped on her very quickly about how it was inappropriate. And I just sat there because I'm like, I use that. My family uses that. Why is it not right? And so I learned why it was not right. And I went home and I told my mom. And she was like, well, what do you mean it's not right? She literally never made the connection between
There's still terms to this day, and I'll throw out one that's used all the time, Nazi. I think Nazi is a derogatory term towards a group of people that we use derogatorily. We use it in hatred. We use it to discriminate. We use it. And I don't think in the future that will be appropriate either. We haven't come to that point. I still use it. I think you still use it. I think many people still use it. But I do think that is one of the words I'm going to red flag, that in the future, that will be a word that is going to be inappropriate because it does single out a group. And if we're going to continue as a culture that learns not to discriminate and despise and classify and all that, that will be taken out of our zeitgeist. And maybe that's probably for the good.
And I think we just don't have a better term for it yet.
Because the NSWPD, whatever it was called, is too much.
Yeah,
because we do have a proper term.
Yeah,
for it.
we have the term.
We have several actually. You could even call it the Third Reich, and it'd probably be more supportive.
I mean, for who we're referring to Nazis today as, I think in the future when we use the term Nazi, it will only be for the folks from World War II. We just don't have better terms.
If that, after all, we don't call the Germans from World War I Huns anymore. That's very inappropriate.
Yeah,
we don't use the word Mongols or Mongoloids either. Very, very inappropriate.
You're correct.
So I think Nazi's going to come in that zeitgeist. It's going to come into the books. It just hasn't gotten here yet. So as far as like the future, I'm trying to see ahead.
Yeah.
And even I'm trying to limit my use of it because it's like, it's probably not what I mean. When people say even like our political leaders are Nazis, I don't necessarily think you mean that in the way that I would say that if I mention that. So we need to be more, again, as we all try to be politically correct.
And find better terms for what we're trying to describe. Absolutely.
Use your English words. Use your English. We're one of the most complicated languages of all times.
Let's make it more complicated.
It's like, well, we're not making it more complicated.
It's actually clearer.
We're dumbing it down, and we need to make it more clear. We don't need to dumb it down with slang and 6 and 7 and Nazis. And everything in the world's a concentration camp, because I've heard that from 6-year-olds. So,
I know where. I'm not going to get into this, but I know where concentration camp came from, and it's an easy comparison term. but they're not 100% the same.
Not when you hear it from
all.
a 6-year-old in an elementary school.
Yeah,
There's no comparison.
Yeah.
You're 6 years old. What the hell do you know?
Yeah,
Eat your fruit. It's like, stop. You don't know what the fuck you're talking
unless
about.
the 6-year-old is Einstein.
I'll go up an age. I'll go that to high schools. I'll go up an age. I'll go that down to the 20-year-old college students. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Stop saying that. Stop comparing that. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. If you're going to use that comparison, use it very, very carefully.
Yes. And see, here's where I would make a nitpick with you, because growing up in New York, I very much knew what they were. Mm-hmm. I had seen pictures. I had talked to people who had been in them. So me, high school, could very much use that term because I knew what it was and understood it.
Teachers? Because that's what I'm referring
to.
What? When these 6-year-olds and teenagers use it, they're using it in the terms of their own life. My life's a concentration camp. Those teachers are a concentration camp. This place is a concentration camp. That's what I'm referencing. No, it's not like I don't know what a concentration camp is. These dumbasses do know.
Okay, I got you.
Are like,
so like when I worked in the elementary school, anything the teacher said, the
chicken
kid
nuggets. What is this? A Nazi concentration? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
this terminology needs to just. When you use the terminology, if you're going to compare something for a concentration camp, as a high school student, I'm hoping you're doing it referencing historically, like this is what happened.
I thought you were.
I agree with you there.
Okay,
Nobody in your generation called your cafeteria Nazi concentration.
No, we did not. But
that is what's happening today. In 2026, and that needs to just stop.
Yes, your classroom, your high school is not a concentration camp. No,
like, get over yourself.
And when I worked in Gearing Public Schools, I spent most of my time there at the junior high. Whenever a teacher said something that the student didn't like, or no, you can't do this, oh, that's racism, you're just saying that because I'm Mexican. And the one English teacher finally got sick of it, that she pulled out this book. I want to say it was called The Slave Ship. I forget. But basically, this little kid knew how to play the flute. He was like 11, 12 years old, and it's during the time of slavery, and some slavers snatched him up and put him on a boat, and they went back to Africa and came back, and it was all about how he was treated. And the kids were like, what? And she's like, that's real racism. That's real slavery. And the kids stopped using it. Because she's like, you're using it inappropriately. You're just upset because you went pee just before class started, and 5 minutes in the class you want to go, and I said no. I'm saying no because I literally saw you go pee, and now you want to go again and screw around and not do classwork, so I said no. That's not racism. That's discipline.
But that's the kind of childish attitude that's being put on to this day, and they're using, and these words definitely need to stop because you grow up and... It's not just the kids using it, it's people in my own generation that's using it. And I'm almost 40 years old, for crying out loud. And there's people in my who are also 40 years old comparing things to concentration camps that really have no comparison at all.
I thought that the high school kids were comparing it to certain things that are happening in the U.S. right now.
These teenagers don't know what's happening in the U.S.
They're
right
not
now.
okay. That's the line I was going down.
Teenagers,
and you're going down a different line.
Their world, like I said, is 2 chicken nuggets. What the hell is happening? That's their world. I'm not going to give teenagers of the United States or any teenager for that matter that much credit. There's a few that are adults, but not the majority. No.
Okay, so we were going down different routes there. That's why I was like, what? Yeah. And then you were like, no, 6-year-olds. I'm like,
I'm talking about Friday night, 9 a.m. Why are there so many cars in Scottsdale full of teenagers? Like, that kind of stupid.
Oh, gosh.
And you don't hear me saying, it's like, oh, well, what is this, a reenactment here? Well, what are we doing? Like, Friday Night Lights? Like, what are we doing here? It's like, what is this? And,
Okay, so to get back to Hayes. Poor Hayes.
Where did we go? We went from blacks to Nazi concentration camps to third graders. Now we're back to poor Hayes.
That's how rabbit trails work, folks. That's why I have a script, so I know exactly where I'm at.
This is why we're not getting endorsed by
because
they're going to kick us out.
So Hayes was seen as an early pioneer of environmentalism. He picked up litter and he worked to keep the town beautiful as well as improving it through his work, through his landscaping. Hayes wasn't poor, but he also wasn't rich. He was smart. He would purchase lots of land, most with houses. He bought them for the back taxes and then maintained them as well as rented them out. So you do that once, you got enough for another house, enough for another house.
Kind of interesting. He was allowed to do it.
Yeah, that's the other thing
that's
too.
Kind of interesting. I'm actually surprised that he was allowed to buy property, even in that era, as much as he could without raising suspicions.
And Alliance was this weird anomaly as well, and weird probably isn't the right word, but there anomaly. He was this anomaly up there. Alliance is this anomaly up there that it did seem like, they're still talking smack behind black people's voices, but if they had the money to buy something, all right, we'll take your money. And maybe these houses were really in really bad shape, and no one wanted them.
To what I call even nowadays in good old 2026 Nebraskan propriety, where you talk only behind people's backs. No one ever. I know the discrimination against my own kind, against the LGBTQ in this town. No one has ever, to this day, in any of my life, has ever openly, excluding a few cases. There's been a few cases where that's not been more, but for the majority, I haven't been truly called out, truly been called anything too bad. Like I said, there's been a few exceptions, but overall, this town doesn't do that. They do it behind your back. Yeah. Their policy is the same way, and their churches are the same way. It's they'll do it behind your back. Well, they won't do it in front. And so I wonder, I guess that's what I call Nebraska propriety. It's just we're service with a smile.
Yes.
And flip them off right when their back's turned.
Yep.
Does that make us better?
No.
If anything, I think it makes us a bit more dishonest.
I would rather have Archie Bunker for a neighbor than those kind of people.
I was going to say, I agree. I'd rather be thrown in my face than have someone.
Then we know where we stand with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wonder as well, from the context from that article, if the houses weren't so bad that nobody wanted them, and he was and he saw something I can fix that up. But I'm sure everything we just talked about was going on behind his back as well, and he just didn't let it get to him.
We can only speculate, because there is all that. There's always that attitude where it's not always racism. It's funny to say racism isn't black and white, because that's not really what I meant by, but it's not straightforward. It's I can discriminate black people all day except for my buddy Jim. That's kind of what it goes on to. It's my buddy Jim, he's black, but he's not that black, He's not that kind of guy. And it kind of goes you're blatantly racism except for your buddy Jim, except for your one black friend.
This is my black friend.
And that's kind of what I wonder what's going on. It's I got my one black friend. So
and I'm thankful I never had to live through the 60s.
Me neither.
Oh my God.
I had to live through the 90s.
So he did buy those homes, fixed them up, helped maintain the yards, and rented them out. So I'm guessing he was probably a decent landlord too. I don't know. So Hayes earned several awards during his lifetime, including the Cornerstone Award for Outstanding Citizenship from the Alliance Chamber of Commerce on January 31st, 1963, and the Dale Carnegie Alumni Association's Good Human Relations Award in 1965. So I'm appreciative that he was at least recognized for his work. And I hate using this word, but even if he was a token, he sounds like he did a lot of work. And at least the lady, I can't remember her name, who's in charge of Keep Alliance Beautiful, but her family just saw him as Hayes. They didn't see him as.
I was about to say, I don't want his legacy for him to be known as a token.
No,
I don't. Even if that's true, I don't think that's fair. I think
Right.
he's much more than that as a human. He shouldn't be considered that. I don't think that should be his legacy.
And I won't think of him that way. I will think of him as this dude that moved there. Probably got a little help from his uncle-in-law, maybe, to just get things started. And then he just saw things that needed to be done, so he did them. And after he raised his kids, his one kid died and was like, all right, I got grandkids, I got to grow like they're plants. I got to raise. And then he just did what any of us would do.
Exactly. He did what all of us would do, is find a comfortable place where, in this really chaotic world where you can just rub shoulders as best you can and live your life and hopefully not piss anybody off and cause trouble and cause any mischief. You just want the best for you, your children, your wife, whatever.
Yep. And he was recognized by 2 different organizations for the work that he did. So that's the way I look at it. He, I don't know how trash pickup was done, but he just went and did it. And then he was like, hey, that yard needs to be cleaned. I'm going to help them clean that yard. They need some flowers in their front yard. I'm going to give them some flowers. It's like my little front yard. You made it look really nice. I could never make it look that nice. And then you make suggestions, like we were chatting before we started recording today, that maybe I should have some lilac bushes out front instead of the 2 that died that I don't know if they're going to grow or not.
And that is a good point about trash pickup. I mean, this was in the 60s. Plastic was just becoming popular. By and large, you had paper, glass. And so he might have been more of a recycler. Rather than what we consider a garbage person, more of a recycling person, because it was also very common, even back in the 60s out here, to burn your trash. So if it was paper products, it's most likely burned. If it was things that you couldn't burn, it'd be metal, tin, glass.
So one of my jobs as a child was taking the paper out and burning it in the burning barrel.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't quite understand, but we then put it over on the compost heap, and I don't understand how it all worked, but that was my job as a kid.
Sure.
And I went away to college in 1988, and somewhere in the early 90s, my town outlawed burning barrels.
Yeah.
But growing up as a kid, that's what we did.
Became outlawed almost everywhere. I think actually New Mexico is one of the last states to outlaw it, just because I have a friend down there, and to this day they even have a couple of people who don't give a fuck and still burn their trash. But but I think by then, even in the 60s, small towns like Nebraska didn't have public waste service.
Yeah.
So you just did what you
did. So you burn it,
so,
recycle it,
And I imagine if there was a trash pickup, it'd be, like I said, for the glass, the milk bottles, Coca-Cola bottles, that kind of stuff. And for metal tin cans, because, of course, tinning cans was big in the 60s. That was becoming a big thing. So that would be my guess, is he was a tin and glass pickupper. And of course, yard scraps.
Yes.
Yard waste.
And in my hometown, we had this big company, and if my mom was still alive, I'd ask her the name of it. But we took our newspapers, cardboard, tin cans, and glass bottles to them for recycling.
Yeah. And I would imagine this is much similar.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that 60s almost had a better better recycling system because they didn't have a garbage system than we do now, where we just shove it all together.
And the recycling place here, I drive by and it's like 52 cents a pound at best for aluminum. And we used to get 97, 98 cents a pound. Every now and then we'd get $1 a pound.
Even when I was a kid in the 90s, we used to collect aluminum cans and make a decent... I mean, it wasn't, it was like $10, $12, $15, but that was enough for us to go to the swimming pool for the afternoon.
But when you think in the 70s, my mom was like $25, $30 was the month's groceries. If she could make $10 off of recycling cans, that's great. That's half your month's groceries. So, that's just what you did. And I get a sense that that's who Hayes was. He was just like, I can do this. I can pick it up and we can recycle it. And because he is seen as one of the early pioneers of environmentalism up in Alliance, I would have zero doubt that he was doing that.
Sure.
So Hayes passed away on Wednesday, December 14th, 1966 at 12:10 a.m. And I have to say, I really miss obituaries that list the time of death. It's on the death certificate. Put it in your obit. I want it in my obit. When I die, I want it listed what time I die and what I died of. Don't just say, oh, she passed away from a long illness. No, I want you to say that, I had flesh-eating amoebas all over my body, and it took 6 months to eat me.
I was gonna say she died with a typewriter in her hand.
Probably, yeah. She died with her hands on the keyboard. But I want people to know what I died of. I don't see the point in that being a secret in any sense.
Well, we have HIPAA laws now, so that could come into play.
Nope.
Back in the 60s, we don't. But
nope, because you're dead.
I get it. It doesn't really matter, but I guess depending.
Yeah. And my nephew has the POA and the health proxy, so he's allowed to tell anybody he wants. If I tell him, he can tell anybody he wants.
I know, but I'm just saying in general, if you're like a politician and you die from syphilis from your affairs lover, maybe it doesn't want to be your death.
Okay. I don't plan on dying of syphilis.
I'm just saying, if John F. Kennedy could have died of something or something.
Oh,
maybe if he didn't get shot. Who knows? Yeah.
But I miss at least the time. I don't know why. I like that.
Mitch McConnell was in rehab, which they never really explained what kind of rehab. They just said rehab.
And now he's home, but no one saw him go home. Whatever.
But I'm saying, if he dies, we're not going to know.
No.
He could have been a heroin addict this entire time. We could have known exactly what kind of rehab he was in.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So Hayes was 87 when he died. Hayes had been in ill health for some time. That's the best that I could find. And he had fallen down in downtown Alliance 2 days before on Monday. So he died on Wednesday. So he was in downtown Alliance and he fell and he fractured his leg and he died as a result of that, but he had been in ill health for quite some time.
Sure, 87 years old. If you break a hip, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and he fractured a leg. Yeah. So Hayes is buried in the Alliance Cemetery, and Florence lived to be 105. Passing away at home at 2:55 a.m. on July 8th, 1991, of natural causes.
That's incredible. 105 years old.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So I just, this is from a 2-article story about Hayes Chandler that just
stretched out to an hour and 11 minutes. You're welcome.
Yeah. But I love those kind of stories. What's that photo on your wall? Oh, that's this guy that was an early environmentalist in town. Really? What did he do? And then you get a little 2-part story out of it. Yeah. And this was written in 2022. So here I come along 4 years later. I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. And now, now I'm punching my microphone for no reason. But now that's out there for the whole world to know about Hayes Chandler.
And I do encourage for anyone who likes this channel and who is listening and who might be on the later years of their life to come and tell their story.
I would absolutely love to just sit down and talk with people.
To anybody. Yeah, talk to, let's hear your story. Let's hear about, and if it's not about you personally, maybe about your parents or grandparents or your ancestors, or how did you, I always ask this question, how did you get here? Did you get lost?
I got lost.
It's always what I ask people. It's like, how in the world did you end up here? I know how I did. I didn't have a choice. But how did you end up here?
See, Connor, you and I should just start a new podcast where we just ramble about our lives.
Not my life.
Okay, mine. Okay, mine.
Mine's a 5-minute blurb.
Oh no! I just did an hour 13 minutes.
I was born in Rapid City. I skipped around from Alliance to Rollins to Rapid to here. Not very far, and here I am. I mean,
but it's all the stories in between. Yeah, see, there's some stories you don't want to tell.
Dad was a paramedic, mom was a cop, and the story.
There you go.
I'm sure it's interesting to somebody. It just isn't very my life, and however, like my grandparents' life, that's interesting to me. My great-grandparents' life, definitely, but no, my own life, and if you insist.
But yeah, I would absolutely love to do those stories. Just sit and talk. And, we'll get to a point where we all need a drink of water. We'll pause, get a drink of water, and keep going. We'll make it a 2, 3, 4, 5-part series. We'll make you into a better series than the movie theaters that we did.
We'll make you a better person than you think you are.
Because
that's a guarantee.
Because I always look for the good in people.
Yeah, and we know how to embellish, and we can just we can shoot the shit all day.
Yes, and you and I can. There were many times I worked the night shifts at the youth shelter, and I would be relieving Connor. He got done at 11, I came in at 10, and at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, his husband would be texting him, "Are you coming home tonight? Because we're just shooting the shit."
We kept talking. And that would happen.
And so now you know how the podcast started, because I had mentioned at one point in time I wanted to start a podcast, and you said, "Hey, yeah, that would be really cool." And so I went and I bought everything.
When we should have been watching children. We were talking.
Hey,
just joking. We were obliged, obligated legally to watch these children.
Yes.
We didn't let them go, but we did let them sleep.
Yes.
We did.
We didn't wake them up. We talked
and
quietly.
And when they woke up and bugged us, they'd go back to bed.
Go back to bed. We're having a conversation. Anyway, that's it for us this time. Come back next week. I'll have something else. I know I did a person. I just forget who, because I wrote several weeks ahead, and I forget everybody. Like, once I'm done, I move on to the next one. It starts to escape from my brain. So I forget who's next on the list, but you'll find out if you come back next time. For now, I'm Irene.
And I'm Connor.
And this is Storytelling on the Plains.